Man, I tell you. So I just want to jump right in this. Welcome to the show. Welcome whoever new. Get this video a big thumbs up, or I should say, not even video, live stream. I should say. Look, I'm used to them pre-recorded joints. Comment down below in the chat. I love to interact with the chat, giving different perspectives and embracing knowledge. Because I don't know everything. I know what I know, and I share my thoughts and give my perspective, and I love to see yours because perspectives matter, and that's what it's about, bringing visibility to matters that's important, right? And that's what we're here to do. So with no further ado, family, I know the segments I should say the parts of the interview with Kamala Harris incorporated with CNN. And it wasn't just Kamala Harris, it was Tim Walz as well, family, that was in this interview. It was broken up into 4 parts. And I want to go through each part that was obviously published to the CNN YouTube. So with no further ado, family, let's get in the show. I'm going to show you guys the first clip, and then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and perspective. So this is part 1 of the interview with Kamala Harris and CNN.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia. You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day 1 in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do?
And I'll be pausing throughout, parts of the interview just to let off my thoughts, insight, and perspective, family. I find that very interesting, as she says, divisive, when she's the one that's pulling the identity politics, let alone the race card, when it's not about race, it's about class, right? So I find it very hypocritical. She's a liar. Shout out to Nova Mike 56. Nova Mike 56. She is a liar, copycat. I totally agree. And I'll tell you why I agree. Get into what I was going to say. Kamala Harris tends to be very hypocritical and really speaks in the sense of a lot of word salad takes place, right? She mentioned advocating for the middle class, working class, or the middle class people, right? But then she goes into talking about just divisiveness. And I find it interesting that she's sitting here putting that, like I said, the identity politics, the race card, really running off of the emotion. I was going to say fear, but emotion, I should say, when it comes to finding out what emotion to tap into a certain demographic, right? And a certain demographic where she taps into their emotion, they seek that validation from her, and that's where her campaign is basically feeding off of. And the divisiveness that she's saying that Donald Trump have done or is doing, or, divided the country, I find it very weird that they continue to use personal attacks that surrounded around division in the first place, when the reality is the point is it's a class war and not a race war. We're past that. And she keeps revisiting this past of racism and bringing up racism and race instead of unity. So who is really doing the divisiveness, let alone if she's advocating for a certain class, then obviously she must know that there is a class war, as I mentioned, right? because the middle class, there's no such thing. The middle class is gone. And now she's calling herself trying to revive this working middle class individuals. But anyway, family, let's continue. Of course, family, of course. Welcome, welcome. I appreciate you interacting with me in the chat. Nova Mike 56 say hi. Thank you, Key Almighty. Of course, you family, man. Thank you for rocking with me.
Day one.
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda, too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be. And I think many of these things that the Vice President's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by a third. We did it in Minnesota to have a federal partner in this. Unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about
So basically, he just piggybacked off of what she said as the babysitter of just being beside her. He's basically the babysitter of Kamala Harris. You know, keeping her composed, and he's just running around championing the same thing that she's saying. And I find it interesting that she mentioned investing in the American people with the child tax credit. You know, the $16,000 that will be given for newborns and children that are on a, you know, have been here for a year, that turned one. Basically a newborn up to 1 year old. And she also mentioned not only the child tax credit, but she did mention, I forgot what else, affordable housing. And I find that very interesting because isn't that the very thing that causing inflation in the first place? Because inflation is basically overspending. And at the end of the day, she's not elaborating on how this money is being received. From what I recall, she did mention of it'll pay for itself. The ignorance. Let's continue, family.
Unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Let's see how she answered this.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority.
Nova Mike 56 says, why isn't she already doing this and she's in office right now? I definitely agree, family. And it cracks me up because she's saying, she's basically kicking the can down the aisle. And as the interviewer have asked, well, what about individuals who want to go back? You know, and the groceries was low and it was way more affordable and the living was way more sustainable. And she just kicks the can down the aisle and say that, oh, COVID, we were at the height of COVID when we first came in and when it was mismanaged by Donald Trump. Well, can you elaborate on anything, woman? Everything is such a general statement with her with no substantial context added to it. Mismanagement how? When obviously, if you guys can disagree with me or not, that Donald Trump had the height of the pandemic and still was able to sustain the affordability of living, let alone things being affordable to be able to manage at the height of a pandemic. And if I'm not mistaken, precautionary and things were put in place for individuals to take the right steps in regards of, with the CDC and, the FDA, the things were already implemented in regards of taking a shot, being able to prevent yourself from getting the COVID and all the precautionary measures around communities and around workplaces and individuals knowing how to take care of themselves more effectively after they have got the information during Trump's administration. The information was already retrieved to know how to be effective about lowering the death count and individuals being able to fight this thing that we once did not know. So I find it very mind-boggling how she continues to just kick the can down the aisle and say, "Oh, well, we had this issue." But she's not answering the very question. And let's stay on topic here, Missy, of what about individuals that want to go back and affordability of it. But anyway, let's continue.
Priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging, what we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years, what we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well,
Please
first
answer.
of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work
Excuses.
that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that any
You
longer.
maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we
She's
cut
talking in
child
circles,
poverty in
man.
America by over 50%.
Family,
when we
just
do what
catch
we
it. The word's solid, man. She's talking in circles. She never elaborates no details. How are you going to implement these things? She attacks Donald Trump, and we're talking about her. This is an interview to basically promote and advocate to, voters that are in the middle, right, that don't know where to go. They don't know if they want to vote for Donald Trump or vote for Kamala Harris. This was a perfect time to show the strength of her campaign, let alone the difference she can make for the best interest of the American people, and basically advocating for herself on why she should be voted and be a strong candidate, and she has done nothing but fail. And I say that because she's keep talking about this $25,000 first home time buyer. And first we had to recover. When I told you that we basically had the information already and already was informed about the precautionary measures that we can take, that we can put in place during Trump administration, because Trump administration, we didn't know how to tackle COVID. So if she wants to make an excuse, and Trump not even making an excuse about how we had to tackle the COVID and all the people, unfortunately, that passed and died, and the death toll was so high, he didn't even make an excuse, and he still kept the cost of living affordable. So why is the very thing when she got in office, she's trying to make the excuse that we had to recover, and we recover faster than ever? She said we had to recover and we recover faster than ever. But in the result of us recovering, why isn't the things that you're championing, like this 3% interest, when interest was 20%, and then it went down 3%? That's 17%. And she even mentioned it and admitted that that groceries is still high. So why even champion and boast about, inflation went down 3%? American families are still struggling, woman. And at the end of the day, they're struggling more than ever versus the time when COVID was at its peak during the Trump administration. So, excuses. And far as my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, family, I'm always open to the possibility of being wrong. That $25,000 tax credit that she keep boasting about helping and investing in American people and getting us back on board with this affordable homes, and that $16,000 tax credit for newborns and children up to a year old, ain't that going to put us right back in the same situation? Because we, the American people, are going to pay for it with our money and our tax dollars. It's not coming out of her check. If you peep all the things that she's championing for and boasting about, it's not coming out of her check, and we pay her with the tax dollars that we pay as hardworking American citizens. These individuals are in a different bubble, and they can't relate. And she's not relating, and she's not even resonating with the people because she's not really interacting and really knowing what's going on realistically. She's in her own little delusional world. Donald Trump is getting out there, interacting with the people, been to the border. And like I say, I'm not a Trump person, and I'm not a Kamala Harris supporter, but I am about policy and the way the economy, which is my biggest concern, the economy. But her giving that money, and family, not even to mention California just passed where they're going to give up to $155,000 to illegal immigrants for housing. And if she wants to give this $25,000 for first home time buyers to be able to put money down, they're still going to be struggling to sustain the living of living in that house. Because the wages that the hardworking American individual is working for can't beat the rate of inflation. The wages aren't high enough to be able to sustain that house. The maintenance. I had an individual, a close individual, just had a raccoon in their attic, in their house, water heaters, regular wear and tear on that house. Irory 666 says, and shout out to you, thank you for interacting with me in the chat. The $25K thing is already there. If you're a first home time buyer, the thing is already there. I reside in the state of New Jersey. They give about 10K or 15K for the first home time buyer thingy. 10,000 for the most, but you got to show your proof and you got to be in the house for 10 years. So there's requirements with it, within the fine lines. But I definitely agree that it is there. But the thing is, advocating, I appreciate your coverage. I appreciate you, family. The thing the thing that's really bothering and troubling to me is you're giving away this money for a thing that's already there, and then you're advocating for more. But at the end of the day, if everything that you're saying that you have done, recovering, and Americans has recovered, being part of the Biden administration, why isn't the result today being the outcome? Why isn't the outcome and the result showing today within the things that you implemented being part of the Biden administration going on 4 years? If it's so effective. And she says she don't believe in Bidenomics. She believes in investing in the American people, but the American people are struggling. So this is a much investment to you? Come on, let's continue, family.
We have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States.
That's a lie.
So that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America. What we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to
really?
get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal, And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No,
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020.
this woman's a
That
joke.
I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, excuse me, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy?
I'm gonna let it rock out, family, because there's only 13 seconds left. But I want to rewind that for a little bit before I add some context to this. Nova Mike 56 says, "Me too, Kill Almighty. Appreciate your coverage. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me, truly. I'm just basically trying to advocate for the truth and really, read between the lines as I educate myself, being an informed voter, and just spread what's the best interest for American people and what direction we should go in, and just bring in visibility to the very thing. If I can make a change positively, just bring a light to things and having a conversation that's productive for the best interest of the American people, where me and you and all of us family can have a conversation. And I'm not trying, my purpose and my intention here is not to get you to vote a certain way. You're going to vote for who you vote for. The point is, family, I'm just trying to advocate for the truth in regards to what works best for the economy as us regular everyday American people and hardworking American people, and the way this economy should go. I don't agree with everything Trump said, and I don't agree with everything Kamala say. But at the end of the day, there is a fine line between one campaign actually executing and talking on real issues and another is not, right? I think we can agree on that. But let's finish this up.
Vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay.
She just told on herself. If y'all really actually saw what she just said, she asked her, well, what made her switch up in 2020 in the campaign when she said she's going to ban fracking. And then she turned around and say, basically, I'll get to the next clip. She turns around and say, right, oh, I never supported fracking, right? I never said anything about banning fracking. But then she turns around and say, she said, do you see any science or research about fracking that changed your mind? Oh, I'm just going to say that I seen the possibility, and I seen that we can still incorporate fracking in a positive way while we still can have positive climate change. So you just told on yourself. If you infer and really read in between the lines, she really just admitted, you know what? I did have my stance. She's trying to be in denial about it, about saying she did not say that she wanted to ban fracking, but she admitted it because she said her stance changed. Your stance can change if you didn't admit to something at first and now you got a different perspective about. Come on, lady. She's playing right in our faces, man. And of course, they wanted to push electric vehicles on the American people. American people wasn't going for it. And they realized, because fracking is basically them drilling a hole into the ground and retrieving gasoline and stuff like that. They were against that because they believed that it can be a more positive way for climate change instead of drilling into the earth and getting gasoline and so forth. So they wanted to push the agenda of electric vehicles, and a lot of Americans, let's be real, when it comes to gasoline cars, they are more affordable. Just imagine all the engineering and all the expenses that come with those electric vehicles, with all the technology behind it, let alone insurance policy increases, just in case any of the malfunction within that technology in that electric vehicle. So of course, if we're already struggling as American people, gasoline cars are the best alternative for us because it's more easier to sustain and be able to maintain as we struggle through this crisis. As we struggle and navigate through this crisis, I should say. So now her stance has changed because the American people has showed her, like, I don't know what you talking about. So anyway, family, this is part 2. Basically, Kamala Harris saying we need a deal. I didn't get to see this part 2 of it. But I did see part 1. So with no further ado, family, let's get straight into it. Let me see. I got this video showing up. Let me get rid of this one. Sorry, family. Let me get rid of this one. And then we can watch part 2. All right. Here we go.
Okay. Another issue, big one, is immigration. As Vice President, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
Northern part of Central America.
the northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Please answer.
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something. The Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure...
I want to have a conversation about this real quick. So the very person that built the wall to stop illegal immigrants from coming across the border, why would they not support a bipartisan bill to strengthen the enforcement at the border with Border Patrol individuals being more security being added when it comes to Border Patrol? Why would Donald Trump stop it? Number one, that's my first question. Why would Donald Trump stop something that he started and initiated in his administration? Let alone, actually, Donald Trump actually continued, sending back illegal immigrants and strengthening the border from Obama administration. Obama was actually putting kids in cages and sending them back. Trump, the visibility didn't get too much championed, and Obama didn't get much backlash. But when Donald Trump decided to continue and build a wall, he got more backlash than anything. He was a horrible person. And then on top of it, I just find it very interesting how she's saying me and Joe Biden, where at the beginning of the interview, she mentioned that I, as vice president, advocated for the border. So she was just saying, oh, I did, and basically to me, it seemed like she was throwing Joe Biden under the bus. And now, as you can see, she's trying to separate herself like she's not even a part of the Biden administration, which is weird to me. Very ironic, very mind-boggling to me. But then what really gets me is Donald Trump even said you don't need a bipartisan bill to strengthen the enforcement and make sure that the borders are protected. And on top of it, coincidentally, why you need a bipartisan bill if Joe Biden, the one that in March of 2020, Joe Biden appointed you as the one to take care of the borders. So why you need a bipartisan bill if you're the one that's appointed to take care of it? It's not making sense. And that's why I say she's playing literally right in our faces and she's talking in circles. And if you really listen to her, you'll catch it because she's very contradicting. And she doesn't want to take responsibility for anything. And she's basically going off of this false hope instead of reality that she don't even want to believe in. See, Kamala Harris is more so believe in what I say, but don't believe in what you see. And us as the American people need to advocate and hold these people, especially individuals like this, accountable because it doesn't affect them. And she mentioned, they made historic they made historic opportunities for the American people or historic business deals. That must ties back to what the GOP just recently did amongst the impeachable conduct that they just held Joe Biden for. That came out, a week ago or two ago, before the DNC. Joe Biden has come out with the inquiry of being impeached, which I feel like is too late. It won't hold no weight. Joe Biden has already did his 4 years. But the impeachable conduct with his son, Hunter, going to foreign countries and the Biden family actually benefiting from these business dealings that she's talking about. What a coincidence. Does that tie? Does that tie together, family? What you guys think? They worked with foreign countries to have these business dealings as immigrants were just coming in. And now they're drawing back. And she's saying, I advocated for protecting the border and Donald Trump stopped it with this bipartisan bill when you are the one appointed. So blame someone else for you not being responsible for your job that you were appointed to. And in the DNC, Joe Biden said himself, me and Kamala Harris will focus still on strengthening illegal immigrants. Am I missing something here, family, or what? Let's continue, family.
I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
just one other question about
Your
something
desk.
that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
If you're turning 65 or beyond,
Huge ad,
you're going to
family.
want to watch.
The border
There are
should
a lot of
be
people today-
decriminalized. Interesting. And then we got a comment from Music and Airplanes. He said, explosive, really? I'm assuming you're talking about the title. And if you feel some type of way, elaborate on it, family. You know what I'm saying?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal.
So
I have
there we
always
go,
believed.
family. There we go. And explosive, like I said, music and airplanes have said, yeah, it was an explosive disaster. That's the title of the. I just look. You actually talking about the title of the live. Yeah, it was an explosive disaster. But she's basically telling us that she asked her basically, should individuals feel confident of the outcome of basically should individuals feel confident of you running a country, and would you able to even show results to change the trajectory of the economy? And she's like, my values haven't changed. She's basically telling us that she's going to be the same person she is now. She's going to be the same person if she was elected. Bro, you better watch out. We better watch out, family. We better watch out. Somebody better call the popo, because this is a disaster. This woman basically just said she's going to be the same person. She's so egotistical, man. She's like, she operates off of ego. She doesn't take no accountability. Even when this interviewer is trying to give her the leeway of being like, oh, you sure? What has changed? You got more experience? You got more information now? Oh, no, my values just haven't changed. Oh, my goodness.
And I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America, and by extension, the globe, around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California.
Stop talking about California, because California is a dump. New York is a dump. Look at you Democrats that's running these states, man. They're a disaster. I just mentioned California just passed a bill of $155,000 to house undocumented illegal immigrants, man. Just allowing crime to come in and bring more danger to the hardworking American individual. This is going to be a disaster, man, if she go into office, man. And she's not even trying to change her approach, or even she's not even convincing, man. She's standing on business, man. She's standing on what she's saying. And the only individuals that she prosecuted was the individuals that didn't fall in line with the political views of hers. Literally. There's individuals that's prosecuting basically off of, like Kamala Harris, based off if you don't fall in line and agree with what she agrees with, look, I'm prosecuting you. Being penalized. Look at Mark Zuckerberg. They pressured him they pressured him into censoring American people on the platform, Facebook, Meta. So the divisiveness that she blames Donald Trump for, and prosecution that she boasts and brags about. And when Tulsi Gabbard, Miss Gabbard, asked her about in that debate, back in that debate when it came to that Democratic panel, right? In 2020, she asked her, she prosecuted the same individuals for smoking marijuana very harshly, and asked her if she smoked marijuana, and she laughed about it. And you can tell when Kamala Harris starts lying, she starts stuttering, bro. It's a gimme. But anyway, let's continue.
Transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed. So that is the reality of it. And 4 years of being vice president, I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus. And it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note, you had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone
Yes,
in
I
mind?
would. No one in particular in mind. I got
She
it.
would appoint a Republican to her cabinet, but she didn't even want to talk to the independent, from my understanding, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was denied from the Democratic Party to even have a conversation. So that tells you right there that she doesn't want to talk with anyone that doesn't align with the delusional views, let alone the Kamala economics. That's a horrible disaster. Her economic policy is trash. But if you don't agree with it, you're obviously going to be penalized. Her party is known for penalizing individuals that do not align with her. Or align. They tend to retaliate. You know what I'm saying, family? Look how many times they came after Donald Trump. You cannot tell me election interference is not. It doesn't exist. Look how many lawsuits Robert F. Kennedy Jr., if I'm not mistaken, 56 lawsuits from the Democratic Party, and they just wanted him to fall by the wayside and fall off because they didn't want him to be even nowhere in the ballots. Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. do not agree on everything, but they found medium ground, and they agreed on something, like the illnesses, the chronic illnesses, autism, the CIA. The American people should be able to be informed with credible information and not certain things that are being allowed when it comes to information that are more biased to a certain party. So the truth is being censored. You know what I'm saying? All these different things. And it was interesting that Donald Trump's son has said if they wanted to, what did he think about appointing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to overseeing the CIA, which he felt like was a phenomenal thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just find that very interesting that these individuals, they're basically going to a certain demographic, and she's just a representative of being his black, strong woman, vice president running for president, and she's a representation of it, of a certain demographic that they basically want to tie to, or I should say gravitate to then gain their vote. And Nova Mike 56 said her vice president is going to be any better. I definitely agree. It's going to be a disaster. But let's continue, family.
We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
Oh, so she's worried about more of the look. You see what I'm saying? And they're using her as the representation as the black woman. And basically, she's a representation of an agenda. And basically, they're going to eliminate that type of demographic, if you think about it. Think about it, family. She's a representation of the very demographic that they're playing off to gain voters to basically eliminate. She was in Ghana, if I'm not mistaken, while the borders were immigrants were coming to the border, promoting the alphabet community. And look, I'm not against if you are who you are. I'm not against any of it. I'm not against it. Find who you are. If that's who you are, I have nothing against it. But it just cracks me up how I think her priorities are really shrewd. And she doesn't operate off of no moral compass or no, even if she is spiritual or not, I don't know, obviously know Kamala Harris, but no type of doctrine she operates off of, or no moral values or moral compass. She's just all over the place, man. And you could see that she was the last option that was just put together and putting this whole Democratic thing together. And she was basically the option just to be able to have individual to go against Trump. And I didn't even expect this to be pre-recorded. She could have at least went live. You know what I'm saying? You got commercial breaks and everything that took place within this. Look, man, it is horrible, man.
I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Let's talk about some foreign policy issues that would be on your plate if you become commander-in-chief. President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back.
Oh,
October
really?
7,
Oh,
1,200 people were massacred.
family. Now, if I'm not understanding, my 25 years of my little life, I never seen a party protest against his own party as much as these Democrats that have done with the pro-Palestine people outside of the Democratic Convention when they were tearing down those fences, right? And she basically just admitted that is not with a doubt that Israel is not being able to defend himself. And America, they are basically giving boatloads of money and ammunition funding this war with Israel. And she asked her that they tried to end it, and Joe Biden tried to end it, and he's been working so hard, months and months, to try to end it unsuccessfully. Well, how can you end something that you funding and you adding fuel to the fire? I'm just not understanding it. Am I missing something here? I'm not understanding. Because Donald Trump, if I'm not mistaken, has done a cease and fire, and basically there was no wars during his presidency. And there's a war going on that is actually being funded by our tax dollars under their decision, the Biden administration. So I'm not understanding her. And on top of it, if she gets in office, it's going to be a war. I'm not surprised it's going to be World War III. It's going to be massive starvation. It's going to be war. It's going to be crime amongst Americans, let alone illegal immigrants who are coming here, basically adding or attributing to the rise of crime. And then you got war over there in Israel.
Occurred.
Palestinians.
Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha.
So do it.
We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
Rudy says Trump 2024. I agree, man. I agree. I'm rocking with you, man. I'm rocking with you. These individuals, if you let these individuals go another 4 years, the same way she conducted herself now as a vice president is not going to change. And she's down the hall from the Oval Office. She could talk to her boy Biden since they so close and get things done. I heard that supposedly her hands was tied. And if her hands is tied and that's how she chooses to conduct herself, I don't feel like as a result of what's happening today and what's happening with the typical American and her being in office, there's not going to be no change in regards of the same policies that she's championed, you can't expect a different result and still going about things the same way. Because if that's the case, it will be great results now. It's simple. Common sense.
And we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
But no change in policy in terms of arms and
Exactly.
so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done.
No.
Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8 to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution, where Israel is secure and in equal measure the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
I find that very interesting, family, as in one of my live shows, I did do my due diligence to do a bit of a research in regards when it came to learning about the Israel and the Palestinian war. And we're going to get to the next part of the interview, which is the third part of it. But what I'm trying to get to, family, is it's quite interesting that this war and this back and forth has been going on for a century or so. You know what I'm saying? With the Palestinians and the, over there in Gaza and so forth. And it's not, she's speaking so broad because on both ends, with Israel and Palestinians, individuals are dying, innocent individuals are dying from both ends, right? And they let this war go on longer than it should have, and they should have been had the issues resolved, right? And it just says that she's full of crap. Because she's not going to change. They're not going to change their approach on funding it to add fuel to the fire in the first place. So what are we talking about from there? Nothing. She's talking a bunch of nothing. Rudy says, what can be unburdened by what has been? Kamala Harris. Man. Look, man, I'm speechless with that one, man. I'm speechless with that. The woman operates out of ignorance, man. Anyway, this is the part 3 of the interview. Harris recalls conversation with Biden, and let's continue, family.
Governor Walz,
Thank you for rocking with me.
the country is just starting to get to know you.
Hold up. Before I start, Rudy says she sounds like Dr. Seuss' book. I definitely agree, man. She just speaks in rhythmatic, word solid, saying the same things over and over. And she's hoping and anticipating that individuals just basically support her based off of emotions, man, and not logic. And logic will not make the economy better. I mean, not logic. Hold on, I'm messing it up. Emotions will not make the economy better. We need a real leader. And Donald Trump obviously executes, and he operates off of logic, not nonsense, not word solid. She operates basically in a sense of hope and optimism. And we could be optimistic all day long, but the pessimistic thing that's taking place is the everyday American people suffering. Crime is being risen. Look at Chicago. And look where she's at. She's in Georgia, a pro-democratic, predetermined, premeditated state that's already going to vote pro-democrat. I've been born and raised in a black family. Most of black individuals in black culture, which is trash, votes for Democrats. And you know their belief is, oh, the Democrats will help us more. If anything, they enable us as a culture because we can thrive even better. What's the sense of being given something instead of working for something? And at the end of the day, they're not really trying to help you because at the end of the day, just as Rudy said, what can be unburdened by what has been done? So Kamala Harris basically saying, I'm not going to take the actions in regards of relieving the everyday typical American that's burdened by inflation because things has already taken place. What can I do about that? I can't do nothing about something that has already been done. And how can I unburden a typical American for something that I haven't done, basically, because she's not taking accountability. She's blaming Trump for it, basically. It's a blame game. She's like a little kid reminding me, oh, no, he did it. She did it, and never take accountability. And this is a leader? This is an individual that's going to negotiate with Putin? Even Vladimir Putin is willing to sit down with former Vice President Donald Trump and hear what he got to say over her and the Biden administration who's currently in office to end the war. And she's over here like, we need a deal. And Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, they're willing to, no problem, willing to solve as soon as he get in office. I was already prepared. So what did that tell you? But anyway, family, let's get into the video. I'm done with my rambling. Let's get into the video.
You a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
Yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made.
We just not going to skip by that this man just skipped by. Wait, we not going to sit there and act like we not going to acknowledge that he just skipped by this sketchy military record, bro. My man basically answered the question and quickly went to schools and how he was a coach. And look, I agree that the school shootings and protecting innocent children is important. But bro, she was talking about the sketchy military joint. And then he goes into, oh, well, I don't think I said my record speaks for itself. I wouldn't attack nobody who has done that many years of service, and my service speaks for itself in the years that I went and was been in the service. Bro, it's not the simple fact that you've been in the service, it's how you went about being in the service, and you never really went to war when it was time to lace up your bootstraps and do the very thing that you signed up and took the oath for. That American people pay for it in regards of funding the military, and it's not fair to the individuals that actually went to war and all the aftermath that they endured as being a true military individual and a true member in service. Look, and it cracks me up because you were like, oh, if somebody was in the service, I would sit there and appreciate them for their service and wearing the American uniform instead of questioning it. But the very thing, what I'm saying is, and it really messes me up. No, at the end of the day, nobody's going to sit there and come out with that. But bro, it just takes away, it's disrespectful to other servicemen. It's disrespectful to other individuals that have been in the service. That's all I'm going to say, family. Let's continue in the video.
False statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The Vice President's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
Vice President.
What the world, bro? My man was all over the place. And then gonna try to make the excuse, oh, my wife is an English teacher. They're basically running off. He's trying to run off this sentiment
President.
that he can resonate with the American people. But at the end of the day, you having a sketchy background, it's like, can you really relate to the everyday American people? You keep trying to go off. You can't run this country with your emotions on your sleeve, because then you're going to respond emotionally and irrationally. And then on top of that, bro, you talking about running the country. This ain't no game, bro. Like, you over here keep talking about Coach Tim Walz, because that's the only story they running off of him. He champions more about being a coach than his military record, because obviously he don't want to talk about that and the issue in which it was sketchy in the first place, and doesn't absolve for the simple fact that he didn't do the very thing he signed up for, and another individual who was in the service with him spoke out against it. And the interesting part is he never did not say that individual was wrong. He just never acknowledged it.
President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so,
personal attacks. So now if you want to be all specific and you want to specify things like that, because they talk about Donald Trump more than any policy thing that I ever have seen, even or even discussed, and care not to add details. But of course, she got to be loyal to the individuals who got her here in the first place, in regards of, you know, staying on the bandwagon of the Democrats, or the hypocrites, I should say. But obviously, she knew that Biden was obviously cognitively declining. And even Nancy Pelosi in the Democratic National Convention mentioned, I'm sure you guys have seen, she said, I did what I had to do. In regards of, you know, that impeachment inquiry and all of that surrounded around Joe Biden, right? President Joe Biden. And she said, I wasn't concerned with him as a president. Didn't even care. She said, I was concerned about his campaign. That's what Nancy Pelosi said. Just stabbed him in the back, man. And if I'm not mistaken, just about weeks ago, before the DNC, and Nancy Pelosi said that, she said, oh, Joe Biden is very sharp, cognitive-wise, when they been knew he was incompetent, and she knew that. Rudy says, smart and loyal. Okay, yep.
I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz for president of the United States, and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some suggestion, warped I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down,
Oh.
instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake as much as any other detail that we could discuss in this election.
Because we haven't had a chance to talk, I'm just curious, staying on President Biden, when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday, so
1 second, family. Rudy says every media channel ran the same exact message verbatim, smart as attack. Yep, sharp as attack. I definitely agree. They all ran the same message, and they were in denial about it. And on top of it, this was the same individual who is still in denial, as you can see. And man, she just and what cracks me up about her having Tim Walz as the VP running mate is she just got a yes man. Basically, he's a yes man, and of course she has to give Joe Biden the credit, because to be honest, Joe Biden should have picked Tulsi Gabbard, but no, he needed to pick someone that would just go along and go with the whole agenda, right? They don't want anyone else that's averse or opposite of anything that they're trying to do. And she has to give Joe Biden his credit because it helped her to get to where she is now. Even though nobody was checking for her to be the Democratic presidential nominee anyway. It was a last minute thing. But they already sort of anticipated, and I figured, and I assumed, in my opinion wise, that she either was going to be president because Joe Biden was already declining and she was going to try to take his position because he couldn't do it, or Biden was going to drop out the race. But I believe Joe Biden still operating out of his ego. He didn't even really want to drop out the race. And look how they did him in the DNC, man. He was the last individual to speak. It was like 11:30 at night. As fast as he talked, as fast as he got out of there. He didn't hang around. Gave his farewell speech shouting. You could just see, man. The man was enraged, man.
so here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces.
Who cares?
And we had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you.
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him,
It's all been about her.
to be honest. I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative. Be it on...
Oh, transformative. Transformative in what? It being another recession? Bro, it's like 2008 all over again, bro. What are you talking about? The worst administration in history. Rudy said, I thought she was going to say that he told her what ice cream. Yeah, I agree, yo, because they're not even talking about nothing realistic, man. Like I say, they in a different bubble. They can care less what the typical American is struggling with, man. Joe Biden done ripped off, using his leverage, he done ripped off, basically like this. he used his visibility as being a president. And even it went back to Obama time when he was VP, Joe Biden. He used that visibility and that power as leverage to obviously gain millions, so his family was the recipient of that success from foreign individuals. Look at Eric Merritt, I can't ever get this name right. Mayor Eric Adams in New York. Total disaster, man. He's having a problem right now where the feds are closing in on him, and he's a Democrat in regards of taking endorsement money from foreign entities like, I don't know, Japan, Korea, I forgot. But you get my point. These individuals have used their positions to gain way more enough benefit from it, and their families being a recipient of their success, let alone their corrupt and crooked ways in which they have utilized their position of power and leveraged it in a way for personal benefit rather than the best interest of the American people. And this is the party that you guys want to support. And I'm just saying in general, I'm not saying you guys. It's just a question, for us to have a conversation. That's all.
What we have accomplished around finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance, what we have done to stand true to our principles, including one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I think history is going to show not only has Joe Biden led an administration that has achieved those extraordinary successes, but the character of the man is one that he has been in his life and career, including as a president, quite selfless and puts the American people first.
I just have to ask you both about two standout moments, aside, of course, from the addresses that you both gave, but standout moments that were perhaps unexpected during the convention. You mentioned one of them, Governor. A moment that you shared, that the world shared with your son, Gus. You were speaking, the camera caught him, so incredibly proud of you, so emotional, saying, "That's my dad."
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. I'm grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment, to understand what was really important, to have my son feel a sense of pride in
You
me,
see what
that
I
I was
mean,
trying
family?
to do the right thing. And
They're more self-consumed with themselves. They're not even is this a real issue to talk about? What are we talking about here, man? Like, bro, we over here talking about the emotion of how he seen his dad up there. All right, let's even be more technical then. Where was Kamala Harris' father? Why he wouldn't want to see his daughter as the Democratic presidential nominee? Why wasn't her dad there? He's alive. Sound very suspicious to me, if y'all want to go there. But this is the emotion that they driving off of. They're trying to drive off the emotion of people. And just like he said, Tim Walz mentioned he has his emotion on his sleeve. Well, they're playing off the individuals that wear their emotions off their sleeves. And to me, it just seemed like they're pandering to black individuals with this race war and revisiting the whole slavery idea when race war that don't exist. And she keep talking about how there's no going back and moving forward, but you keep revisiting the very thing that has nothing to do with what's best for all American people and the country as a whole, man. And that's what really makes me, it pisses me off. I'm gonna be real with you, man. It pisses me off. Because it's like, man, get with it already. Wake up. Speak about something real. They haven't spoke about nothing in this interview. Just a bunch of nothingness.
it was, you try and protect your kids, it brings
Yeah.
notoriety and things,
This
but
is
it was
cringe.
just such a visceral, emotional moment that
I don't care.
I'm grateful.
What is this?
Or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that.
Be right back.
And last question, Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that you were just talking
Yes.
about was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that viral picture really says it. What does it mean to you?
You know, I am running because I believe that I am the best person to do this job at this moment.
Oh,
For
no.
all Americans.
Oh, no. DEI, didn't earn it, don't have the credentials, going based off diversity, equity, and inclusion, basically going based off this race thing. And like I said, she's just a representation of the very race they're playing off of to gain the vote. The certain demographic that see, look, black people are entitled, bro. I'm going to say it. Black people are entitled. They want reparations. They want all this stuff, man. Look, man. They always want a handout. Go work. And they run it. Look, you know how I know that they're using a certain demographic to play off with the using a race card and the first black woman and, you know, being the first black woman that could be president. And see, and black people eat this up, man. And they see, oh yeah, first black person, black woman, they eat it up. And that's how they get the vote. And little do they know, that's the certain demographic that they're pandering to eliminate. Why you think she's letting illegals and stuff coming in? They'll feel more, how can I put this? They'll be more susceptible to vote for her if she wanted to get reelected, for instance, hypothetically, right? Because she's creating a whole nother field of voters that they pandered to, and they gave dollars to, like, for example, a legal immigrant getting $12,000, $10,000 in food stamps and $3,000 in cash. They're trying to create another pool of voters that definitely will go and support them and be pro-Democrats. And the individuals that are starting to wake up and not go over this nonsense of emotion and they say they resonate with the typical American, but all they're doing is boasting that she's bragging about and talking about her upbringing and how her sister calls her mommy, mamala. Like, bro, come on, man. Rudy says, best for the position. She's not even black. She's Indian. Correct. Before 2020, she was the first Indian woman, the Indian senator. Exactly. Let's continue, family.
Regardless of race and gender. But I did see that photograph, and I was deeply touched by it. And you're right, it's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then I'm in the front of the photograph, obviously speaking. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
Did she talk to you about it afterwards?
Oh, she had a lot to talk about. She had a lot. She listened to everything, and she listens to everything.
Give you your hot takes?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Uh-huh.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for your time.
Don't take a hot take from her, bro. You're going to be speaking word solid. You're going to be one of those egotistic, modern, everyday aggressive women that operates in their masculinity instead of their femininity. And at the end of the day, they ain't going to cut it. Well, family, this is the last segment of the show. I appreciate you guys who rock with me this far. Man, look, I'm enjoying, having a conversation with you guys and those who tapped in. So we got Dana Bash describes the interview moments of her interviewing Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. Check this out, family.
We are back now with more of our special coverage of CNN's exclusive interview with the Democratic presidential ticket, Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz. For the first time, we are hearing about how President Biden broke the news to his own vice president that he was dropping out of the race. Listen.
I'm just curious, staying on President Biden, when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday, so here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces.
Who cares?
And we had
I'm
just
skipping ahead,
had
family, a little bit.
pancakes. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He
asked
was
for
very
it.
clear that he was going to
She
support
asked
me.
for
So when he called to tell you, he said, "I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you."
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you.
Stop the
My
cap.
first thought was about him, to be honest.
Lies. Stop the lies, woman. Excuse the ad, family. It was about her because obviously she knew that Joe Biden was eventually going to decline. He's older, and it was like, oh, this is my opportunity. Obviously, because they weren't going to pick her. They weren't going to pick her. And when she was on the, if I'm not mistaken, the Democratic panel for the presidential candidate, she got chewed up alive by Tulsi Gabbard. And it's crazy because this is how you know that the Democratic Party is good for retaliation or retaliating for individuals that don't fall in line with what they want or like or whatever the case may be. Because they put Tulsi Gabbard, if I'm not mistaken, on a terrorist list as she was the Hawaiian senator ever since that debate. And that's just crazy, man. And she got chewed up and she lost and she dropped out. She obviously dropped out of that whole debate. But anyway, family, let's continue. Sorry about the ad. Rudy says lies about both. They told him it was a coup.
Let's bring in Dana Bash. She's in Savannah, Georgia, where this interview took place. Dana, that is very, very interesting. And for those of us who lived through that weekend in a lot of different ways, she found out that morning and she asked him, "Are you sure?" That's extraordinary.
Really?
It is extraordinary. First of all, I just want to say that I wasn't sure what she was going to say and what she would offer, if anything, about that conversation, which was obviously private, but it was also historic, which is clearly why she wanted to get some of it on the record for history now, because it's going to come out.
She wanted to get some of it on the record. But you as the interview, you're going to ask what you ask for. You're going to ask what you need to ask. And more concerned, of course, you're going to ask about the individual, a little bit about themselves, because you want to have a conversation. You're more so as the interviewer, you're just getting information. You're not so much narrating the conversation. But this conversation is important because it brings value to the American people and for individuals as voters, as our voice obviously is our vote, right? And obviously you can see that it's been pre-recorded for a reason. She didn't go live. She didn't answer questions on the spot because 9 times out of 10, and this is just my opinion, these questions was already pre-approved by her before she even asked them. She hasn't really taken on no real interviews. She did this one because there was a topic of the conversation that she haven't taken on no real interviews when it come to big networks. I done seen individuals like on Fox and on 5 Take defending that, she'll get on interviews when she ready. She has been traveling and so forth and so forth. Donald Trump gets on interviews, no problem, and address the American people all the time because that's what it's about. This was a pre-recorded interview with already premeditated questions. Scripted. Exactly, Rudy. I agree. It was all a script. Just like I felt like the DNC was a skit, a last-minute put-together disaster trash convention. And then what really bothered me was when they put an individual up there that had disability and they had him talking on a mic. I don't know the individual name. He was in a wheelchair. Why would they put that man up there? And then have the lady, the woman, obviously translate for him what he wanted to say. But how do we know if that's really what he wanted to say? They were scrambling to get people up there. They're just going based off hope, emotion, free entertainment, and going off a certain demographic, like I said, that's seeking validation, that feel entitled. And that's that race card they're running off of and being divisive. Because Joe Biden said a lot of divisive things up there, and he keeps talking about Donald Trump saying that the supremacists, white supremacists, or he said they were very fine people when he never said that. And you can fact check that. And even Benny Johnson, an amazing content creator, go check him out. Amazing individual, very informative. And Professor Nez, I also watch, very amazing content creator. Go check them out. It was fact checked that he never said they were very fine people. But anyway, fam, let's continue.
Probably eventually. But are you sure? You're exactly right. That kind of moment where, look, it wasn't as if it was a surprise in the instant that it happened. A lot of people weren't sure that the president was going to finally decide, you know what?
Shout out to Tony's Place. That's why they didn't want Kamala on Fox for a debate. Fox won't provide her the questions beforehand. I agree. Just like she keep kicking the can down the aisle in regards of the presidential debate because Joe Biden. Sorry, family. Donald Trump has spoken out in regards of her keep trying to change the rules of the debate. When President Donald Trump said, or former President Donald Trump has said that just keep the rules the same. He wasn't fond of the mic being muted when he debated Joe Biden, but it was fine. It worked out perfectly fine, so let's keep it the same. She's keep trying to change things, and then she's trying to make an excuse and basically blame Donald Trump like, oh, he doesn't want to debate. Let's debate. No, she's not ready. And for Donald Trump, amazing move for his campaign. And adding Tulsi Gabbard to basically train him and get him prepared to debate Kamala Harris, when we all know most of the individuals from the Democratic Party, for the most part, correct me if I'm wrong, they get prepared for their debates by going to Howard University and debating that way. In that instance. So I find it very interesting. I know she's going to get chewed up in the debate September 10th, and she's not a debatable person. She doesn't know how to take on quick-handed questions that are to address the American people and just get to the nitty-gritty and also explain and add substantial context. She speaks in a broader way. Oh, we're going to stop price gouging. So now you're capping and basically putting things to a cap, and you're spreading communism. And communism, to add some context, even if you may know already, family, but for the viewers who may not, and I did my due diligence to learn about it, communism is basically the government putting our hands on everything and basically saying, for example, if you wanted a salary increase because you feel more valuable to a business and a job, and you have done your due diligence to add more value to yourself to become valuable to a company, whatever that job may be, they'll say, oh, well, you'll get the same salary as so-and-so because it's all of our money. Basically, to the government, it's all of our money. And a government controlling everything is like, look, you get the same thing that this person get. And it won't be a capitalistic environment. And America thrive off of capitalism because it won't be limited opportunities. The opportunities will be limitless. So, for example, you're trying to cap small businesses, and then that's going to lead to them getting rid of employees. Already the prices of goods and services are going to go higher because the price of the product is higher, let alone transportation fees. So it's just mind-boggling how she wants to say price gouging when the very thing is frivolous government spending and inflation is caused by overspending. And the individuals who's going to suffer from all aspects is the consumer and the American people. Tony Place says Trump ruined Kamala's interview by having a town hall at the same time. I didn't get to see it, but I did know of the town hall meeting. More people watch Trump, most definitely. Tony's Place said price fixing leads to wage fixing. Exactly. And at the end of the day, wages, like I said, will never beat the rate of inflation. So it's always going to be, the ultimate thing is the American people are going to suffer. It's going to come down to the consumer. And my belief and my understanding of it, family, is that there's going to be a massive starvation and everything taking place. And individuals struggling to make ends meet and put food on the table as they are having a hard time doing it now. You know, and like you said, wage fixing, that's going to cause individuals wanting an increase in wages, and the business is not going to be able to cover the cost of that because she wants to cap the price, right? Let's continue.
But I'm out of here. But obviously, we remember the pressure was mounting. We do know that from our reporting that just in case she was not doing anything, but just in case some of the people who are in the Kamala Harris orbit were just kind of getting everything ready just in case it happened. But that was a human moment. You know, this is a man who took her out of the United States Senate, made her his running mate. She made history with that. And he was giving her some pretty big news about himself. And then, of course, it was off to the races for her to try to do something even more historic, to be the president, but also just with regard to the campaign process, to scramble to secure the nomination, which wasn't really, if you remember, Abby,
scrambling and scraping. They were scrambling and scraping with that trash disaster DNC. And she said to give historic information about Joe Biden, talking about Joe Biden was giving historic information to Kamala Harris about himself. Bro, we already knew that the man was declining. We already knew that he was incompetent, and she's just incompetent as him.
wasn't really set in stone that she was going to get it as quickly as she did.
Yeah.
We weren't sure what the process was, but she sewed it up in about 24 hours. I also just want to say that just that human element there of what she was doing, you know this, you've covered her, and I know a lot of people at the table. She loves the Sunday dinners. She loves to cook.
Oh, man.
Being there in the morning.
Man, I can't watch it. I can't stomach it. I can't watch it no more. There's a bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of... Look, at the end of the day, Kamala Harris never worked in a private sector. Every job she had, for the most part, it seems like she took tax-paying citizens' money, and that's how she was paid career-wise, right? So she don't even understand how small business. She don't even understand the basic of economics. But that's my take on it. Obviously, you can see there. Oh, she had a human moment. Where's the sentiment for the everyday American person, bro? My concern is the trajectory of the economy and the policy in regards of the economy to thrive, not just for a couple years, but for centuries. But that's my take on it, man. Comment down below you guys' take. Tony Play says she also wants to dictate what type of products companies can produce, forcing the auto industry to get completely electric. I definitely agree. That's why she ended up having a reality check that fracking can not be banned because they tried to enforce electric cars on the American people. And you just gave me another thought as you talked about dictating type of products and companies can produce. And you just gave me a thought about the auto industry. Stellantis, they are laying people off. As she said, there's been many of jobs and so forth. Well, there have been many layoffs in regards of Stellantis. I seen Tyson Food Company. They're laying off individuals. And actually, she mentioned about, keeping jobs within America and us being the biggest country to ever bounce back and the biggest and fastest country to ever bounce back. But what really blows my mind is individuals are getting laid off as we speak. Plant workers. She's talking about how more workers are on the line in manufacturing. Well, if you want to be technical, her allowing the immigrants in and all these individuals, Stellantis is actually moving to China. They're getting rid of the plant, I believe that's in Detroit as we speak, and laying off individuals. And just imagine the individuals that just started working. The younger individuals, they're going to get hit the hardest. The individuals that have been there years and, they'll get their retirement package or whatever the case may be. But foreign individuals already came over here because they didn't keep it within America, as Donald Trump's intention was to keep American jobs for the American people and also for us to thrive and keep the money coming in for America. Why are we going to foreign entities and why are we giving money over to foreign entities instead of investing in American people truly? And the way he did that was keeping American jobs for the American people and not being taken by illegals, because now you have illegals that are contractors And if you want to think about it, for a cheaper cost, because the individual that may want to build property, they'll just take the contractor, the illegal immigrant, they'll take them as a contractor, pay them less instead of a regular American person who has the credentials, also a hardworking individual that can be a contractor or a state contractor to do these very things, right? And foreign entities that they keep talking about that they welcomed over here, like China, for example, Hyundai moved to Mexico, and like I said, Stellantis is moving all the way to China somewhere. They already have found the blueprint in America and took that same blueprint for auto production companies, and actually took the blue. When we used to be the fastest auto making in the industry, I believe, in the country, and the fastest at doing it in America, foreign individuals have found out the blueprint, did it far way greater, and now they're getting money coming in their countries, where American individuals are being the consumers. And now you have record-breaking vehicles, and they're making it much faster at a cheaper cost, like Hyundai. You know what I'm saying? Tony Place says, Trump needs to hammer the fact that Kamala is career politician and is part of the systematic problems. I agree. She didn't earn it. Tony Place also say, this is what I like about the Trump policy. If you don't make it here, it's going to cost you to sell it here. Yeah, man. Just like Trump, I don't know what country this was. Family, you guys will have to, give me the scoop on what it was. But it was a war, and they wanted help from America. And he sent out a tariff to cost them a fee. If you guys want our help, it's going to come with a cost. But you see the Kamala Harris and Biden and the Biden administration, they're paying and giving resources over to individuals that need our help. America, the United States, you know what I'm saying? The money that come off the backs of Americans, man, just mind blowing to me. But yeah, family, that was the last segment of the show about just the interviewer Dana Bash, giving her insight in regards of how she felt and how she felt that human experience and human connection as she interviewed Kamala Harris. So I'm just curious, you guys, how do you guys feel about the whole Kamala Harris interview? Did you feel like it was a piece of crap? Do you guys feel like it was very effective? Did it help her? Did it help up her in the polls in regards of being more likely to win the election and elevate her to gain more voters, or did it hurt her and become more disastrous? I'm curious to get you guys' perspective on that. And I play a little bit of music, I like a little bit of jazz. I usually play it towards the end of the show. But I'm curious, family, do you guys think that it helped her candidacy as a nominee or what? I'm very curious. I believe that this actually, I agree, Rudy, it was a disaster. And I also believe that it actually hurt her far way more greater. And she was better off just not doing no interviews, man. Just not even doing the interview. And honestly, it's a leg up for Trump, man. Trump 2024, man. I'm with it, bro. When it comes to policy and him executing, I have full confidence that Donald Trump is going to execute and do what's in the best interest of the American people. Tony Play said it was a fluff piece. I agree, man. It was a bunch of crap. It was dumb, man. She's dumb. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm trying to tread lightly and give grace, but man, you just get fed up, man. And watching individuals suffer, it really makes you just angry. It makes you frustrated, And she just speaking broadly. That's like me just saying, oh, the American people, we will once have lower grocery prices, but never elaborate. As we know with Trump, he elaborates, he speaks on it, he shows how, he even elaborates on how he's going to implement it, how effective it's going to be. And obviously, it's not like we can't compare timelines here, right? Trump been in office before, so we know how it is. We know the outcome, and we can trust in that. versus her, it's been a straight disaster. And we got a border crisis. We're in a crisis. We're basically in a recession. They don't want to admit it because the Democrats are used to covering it up. They're used to covering things up until it becomes very disastrous. And from my take, and I did a little bit of research, and I actually seen Bill Haymore, who's more of a pro-Democrat. They're not even hiding it anymore about the nonsense that's taking place as Kamala Harris is the nominee for the Democratic Party. Tony Place says Trump will take on the hardest questions. Kamala avoids the press. Most definitely, man. But yeah, family. With no further ado, I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. Get this video or this live show a big thumbs up. I hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate you guys that interacted with me in the chat. I gotta give a shout out because I believe 167 views. These are the most views I ever got going live, man. And I appreciate you guys. So kudos to you guys on that, man. I couldn't do it without you. And I hope you guys rock out with me more. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to keep trying to do my due diligence and work hard to be an informed voter and have these conversations to bring to the forefront truth and knowledge and having dialogue and positive conversation, even if we agree to disagree, just to collectively bring perspective to overall connect as we are the American people, right? You know, and Rudy says, had to redefine what a recession is during Biden administration. Exactly. And I appreciate your like and sub, brother. With no further ado, I'm out, family. Spread that peace, love, and positivity I always advocate for. Let the love supersede the hate. And on that note,